What is the issue here? I mean, pure and simple, one person should have one vote, and my one vote should count the same as your one vote, not less, not more. And how do we make that happen? Because we know from Section's example that there are states right now in litigation because the Democrats have gerrymandered. There are states like ours that are in litigation because the Republicans have gerrymandered. So the lesson we need to take away from that is that this is not an issue that either political party will willingly fix. We, the people, have to demand a fix. And what we need to ask for, what we need to ask them to do, is to adopt a nonpartisan, transparent, competitive redistricting, map drawing process. So in Wisconsin, we're lucky because Senator Dave Hansen, who, by the way, introduced another version of this very same bill when the Democrats were in control, and it didn't go anywhere, he's introduced SB 13, and there's a companion bill in the Assembly Bill 44, and they're the same bill, and they're introduced as companion bills so they can move through the legislature more quickly. The problem is, of course, that they're stuck in committee. So what we need to do, we the people need to call the committee chairs and say, give this bill a hearing. It is one of the ways in which we the people can make our wishes known. And I'm going to walk you through this action sheet because whether you have a little bit of time or a lot of time, there are things you can do. So let's take a look. You know, the take action sheet, there are actions listed from like 1 minute down to all the way down to taking the pledge. All right, Shantae said, share these links on your Facebook page, your Twitter page. If you have 5 minutes, you can call your own state senator and your own assembly person and ask them to support these bills. On the back side, it tells you there's a script for you, how to find out who your representative is, what you could say when you call them. All right? If you have 7 minutes, you could fire off a postcard and say, support this bill, and send it to your legislator. You can find out who they are, what their addresses are. All of that is on the legislature's website at wisconsin.gov. All right? If you have 15 minutes, you could talk to your friends or your family or your church group or any organization that you're part of about unfair maps. You came here today. Why did you come here today? What did you learn today? What did you take away? Explain why it's important that we put map drawing in the hands of a nonpartisan state agency. It already exists. These two bills would turn over the drawing of the maps to the Legislative Reference Bureau. The Legislative Reference Bureau already exists. They draft every single bill that every single legislator asks for. They are fiercely nonpartisan. Why? Because legislators from both parties have to trust that when they say to the Legislative Reference Bureau, I want a bill that does X, Y, and Z, that those lawyers on the staff of the Reference Bureau will draft a bill that does X, Y, and Z, and they won't say, oh, that's a good idea or that's a bad idea. They will draft what the legislature asks for. All right? So we know that we have a group, we have an agency that is fiercely nonpartisan, that already exists, and we say to them, draw maps that satisfy the constitutional rules on proximity, on race, and hopefully on political affiliation. Draw a map that satisfies all those rules and introduce it in the legislature. The legislature voted on it. That's what we're asking for here. And it's very similar to the system that's in place in Iowa. And you can learn out all kinds of great stuff about everything about fair maps and the bills and the case that's pending on the Citizen Action website. We have a Fair Maps tab. You just hit that tab and way too many resources will become available, trust me. If you have an hour, write a letter to the editor on that link, all right? We have examples of letters to the editor, things you can say, what newspapers to send them to, who to contact if you want some help writing your letter. If you are able to schedule an event like this in front of your group, contact the people on this list. Elena Calhoun, who's here today, who's standing at the back of the room. Anna Dvorak, who's the lead organizer for the co-op, who would be happy to help you set up an event like this. And then, I guess, finally, campaigns are coming up. We have nonpartisan elections in the spring, we have partisan elections in the fall, and many, many people are going to be coming to you and asking for your vote. And in exchange for that vote, it's not hard to say, will you vote for a nonpartisan redistricting process? Because if you will, I will support you. And if you won't vote for that, I won't vote for you. That's how we make our voices heard. And I don't want to be unrealistic. This fight is the long game. We have to keep doing this. We have to keep saying this until it happens. We can't stop. This is not something that we can achieve with one massive protest, one march on Washington, or one march on Madison. We have to be steadfast. And Citizen Action is willing to take the lead on being steadfast. This is an action that requires our sustained energy. We need a sustained movement for fair maps. And Citizen Action is ready to go. Our fair elections team is committed to putting on these town halls for as long as it takes. But we need sustained support from our communities. We need people to join Citizen Action, to stand together to say, we're going to fight for fair maps, we're going to fight for, no manure in the water because of concentrated animal feeding organizations, we're going to fight for clean water, we're going to fight for green jobs, we're going to reduce mass incarceration, we are going to rebuild the communities that we've decimated by felonizing black males in Wisconsin. There's lots of issues. We all have issues that we care about, and we have our pet issues, but this is the threshold issue. So please, if you're not already a member of Citizen Action, talk to me after this event. I'm ready to sign you up. We'd love to have you. So, more questions?
I'll just say that, first of all, I would like to join after the meeting, but every first Sunday of every month, this church sponsors something called Brave Place. It meets at the McDonald's at 6th and Oklahoma, and we provide stamps, letters, and envelopes and moral support. There's a group of people who gather, who write on all different subjects. We talk about issues. We support each other in being active in issues. So if you're sort of not sure how to go about this, or you feel all alone in the world, first Sundays, 2 p.m. at First and Oklahoma.
And here's a flyer. And here's a flyer for her. It's on the podium here. If you'd like to pick it up.
I just want to say one thing, and you raised a good point, Pastor. You feel like you're alone, and you feel like this is just an insurmountable fight. That there's no way we can win this. But the polling that Session referred to earlier indicates that I'm not even going to guess. I'm going to tell you what it said. Wisconsin citizens believe by almost a 2-to-1 margin that state legislative district maps are drawn unfairly. We're in the majority on this. We are in the majority on this. 4 times as many Wisconsinites want an independent commission to draw district lines as they want the legislature to do it. We are in the majority on this. We need to stand together, and we need to stand strong, and we need to demand that our elected officials do this.
Can I say something about this just for a moment? I went to state legislative days in the Capitol, and none of the legislators who needed to hear what we came to say was about prisons, about unfair maps. were willing to even meet with us. And that's what makes me feel really, really sad, is that your legislators aren't even willing to listen to you because you're not in their constituency. And that is not right. They need to listen to all their constituents, especially because sometimes we're in the majority.
Right, but Elena raises a good point. That's the reason why we're telling you to contact your own legislator about this, because they do care about it. If you're in their district, you're a vote, either for them or against them. And so that's why we're saying it's very important that you contact your own legislator about this, whether they're a Democrat, whether they're a Republican. As I said, no political party will do this on its own. There's one thing that I didn't mention that I said I was going to mention, and that is we have the coalition that Sachin mentioned that met back in February of all of the organizations that want to work on this issue. Said one of the strategies that we can use to get this issue out into our communities is to ask our local county boards to pass non-binding referendums saying we support nonpartisan redistricting. And we set ourselves a goal. You know, we're going to try and get, what did we say? A third of the counties?
I think it was a third.
A third of the counties by November to pass these resolutions. Well, you know, last week, Brown County became the 31st county to pass a resolution on this. 31 of 72 counties have passed resolutions in support of support of nonpartisan redistricting. That represents 60% of Wisconsinites. We need to keep pushing. We need to keep moving. We'd love to have you join us. That's the only other thing I want to say about joining Citizen Action is that what you need to know is that we started out here in Milwaukee, and we've got 4 organizers right now in the co-op who are working on the issues that the co-op members want to work on. This is one of them. Healthcare for All is another. Breaking the right-wing monopoly over talk radio in the area is another one. Immigration justice is one. Economic justice is another. So I don't want you to think that we're only working on this, because our members care about a lot of stuff. But I want you to also know that we have co-ops now in northeastern Wisconsin, another one in north central Wisconsin, and a third one in western Wisconsin. And our goal is to build people power because, and I'm going to close on this, there are 2 sources of political power: money and people. We've got the latter. So, thank you very much for being here today.